Okay. All right. So I'm super excited. Thank you so much for the invitation, Suzanne. I couldn't agree more that this is a fantastic NAIFA member benefit that not everyone knows about, and they absolutely should, because there is so much great free stuff that you get because it's included with your membership. So, you know, this is just going to pay back exponentially. I'm going to do a kind of a combination. You know, I'm going to explain concepts, show you some slides, but I'm also going to do some live demos today. So don't worry, I'm actually going to kind of dig into it, make sure you see it all and you know what it's available to and how it works and all that good stuff. With that, you guys can see my screen. So I'm just going to kind of explain a little bit conceptually before I jump in with those demonstrations. And what you need to know is that everything I'm going to explain to you is actually broken down into two distinct halves for two distinct audiences. So, you know, you've probably heard the name NAIFA ClientCast. So that's our brand for the NAIFA member benefit. And that includes the whole suite of resources. But the main NAIFA ClientCast feature is the NAIFA ClientCast podcast. So along with that, that is the whole suite of, you know, the consumer podcast, and along with that comes email promotionals and social pieces, you know, all sorts of great things that I'm going to show you in depth today. But conversely, the other half of the program is Power Session Live. Now that's the advisor-facing half of what we do, and NAIFA members are raving fans of this part of the program. What this is an advisor training webinar series. I'm going to go ahead and toot my own horn and tell you this is the highest rated, highest attended webinar series in the industry. So you have to be a NAIFA member or one of our partner, like broker dealers, for example, to be able to attend. So this is a huge deal, and this is where we get all those great speakers. You know, Tom Hegna, Van Miller, you know, Van Miller, superstar NAIFA member and speaker. You know, even some of the headliners like Ed Slott. These are the people that come on the Power Session Live webinars and give you sales ideas, and we do this every single month. So keep going to your NAIFA meetings. Would love to see you at P+P. Those are always really fun. But in between, you got to quench that thirst by attending Power Session Live. Keep getting these sales ideas because this is also given to you from NAIFA, so don't miss it. I'm actually going to start by start on the Power Session Live webinar half because it's just super, super fun. So the reason I want to give you some samples of the types of speakers that have been on the program is not just to, you know, hey, this is really great. You know, I could say that till I'm blue in the face. But there are specific examples I chose for some different reasons that I want to show you. So, you know, like I said, Ed Slott, Tom Hegna, headliners. These are the, you know, the reasons you join NAIFA, so you can come to conferences and learn from great ideas from these guys. But it's more than that. You know, we had Gina Pellegrini on Power Session Live. She actually was a financial advisor's assistant for many years and turned it into a consulting agency. So she had a whole webinar on how to efficiently run your office because that affects your bottom line. And if you're not running your office efficiently, you're just basically throwing money out the window. So she talks about how to, you know, the best way to fill up your calendar, what time of day you should be making your calls, how many times a day do you interrupt your staff member, how much information should you give them. This kind of information she learned over 30 years working for an advisor, and now she can make it work for you. Camille Snyder is a really great example. She's one of the country's top DI agents because she is a cancer survivor. And she comes on these webinars because she's a successful DI agent because she knows how to explain it to consumers because she knows what she wishes she would have been told. She had a group policy, it wasn't enough. She worked off of sales and commission, she was out of the country, so her group policy literally did nothing. She went through all of her money, thankfully survived cancer, and she does a fantastic job. She's a huge NAIFA supporter. I think she's NAIFA Mississippi president previously, and just has tons of sales ideas to help you sell one of the most unpopular products, but one of the most important products, because everybody wants disability insurance when they need it, and they don't want to pay for it before that. So she has some really great sales ideas for you. Another great example is Selfie Taylor. He's actually a NAIFA 4 Under 40 winner. I think he's 41 now. Don't tell him I told you that. But what was awesome about his sales ideas presentation is that he came on and presented alongside with Rao Garuda, who's a seasoned industry veteran. So you have an extremely successful advisor who's been around the block, Rao, and you have an extremely successful advisor who's new to the block. So you have the old tried and tested ideas, and you have the hot and fresh strategies and that young energy, and they collided to share prospecting ideas with you. And what's awesome is Selfie is obviously very successful because he is won NAIFA 440, he's already top of the table, so his prospecting is very effective. On the flip side, Rao Garuda, he only prospects with billionaires, with a B. Must be nice, right? So he had some awesome ideas too. There were so many takeaways from that webinar. And then Harlan Akala, he's a reverse mortgage specialist, and reverse mortgages got a really bad rap after the market crash 10 years ago, a little over 10 years ago, and now FINRA changed their stance on them because of qualified professionals, mainly NAIFA members, who value their industry and do a good job serving their community and know that there are pieces of the puzzle like reverse mortgages that might work. So this is just a tiny sampling of the types of webinars we feature month after month. You're a NAIFA member, don't forget to attend for free. These are awesome. Before I move on to the other half of the program, the consumer marketing content, I just want to throw a plug out there. Because we have these Power Session Live webinars all the time, people ask us, why don't you have a conference? Why don't you have a conference? Well, we went and did it. So we're hosting the first ever Real Wealth, that's our parent company name, Real Wealth. We're hosting the first ever Real Wealth Symposium. So that's coming up in April. April 29th through May 1st. And because you're a NAIFA member, we have huge discounts for you. I think we have like a $100 or $200 discount code just for being a NAIFA member, but for being on this webinar today and actively pursuing a further and deeper understanding of your NAIFA membership, we're going to knock off a total of $400 off of your membership. So if you're on this webinar and you want to come, give us a call today, and we'll honor that $400 discount today. Van Miller's going to be there. David McKnight's going to give some more information on his Power of Zero marketing strategies. You don't want to miss it. And what's really cool about all this is that NAIFA's going to be there. And in addition to that, it's a very small private event, and we're running out of seats. So sign up, and it's everybody's going to see everybody. You don't have to pick and choose and miss presenters. So you're going to see 10 headliners in 2 days. It's going to be fabulous. So I'm going to switch gears to the consumer marketing content. Remember, I mentioned everything that you're getting as a NAIFA member through this benefit is broken into the 2 halves. So now this is the consumer marketing pieces. What we do, our primary medium is a podcast. And just a super quick history on that. This actually started, this whole company, in fact, is founded by a NAIFA member, Jim Silbernagel. He's a seasoned veteran in the industry, MDRT, top of the table, Forum 400. And what's really interesting about that is, yeah, he's successful. There's a lot of successful advisors, but we literally, I am broadcasting live right now from Kewaskum, Wisconsin, population 4,000. So it's not like there's lawyers and doctors and high net worth clients knocking down the door here. So Jim had to come up with some creative marketing. So 20, 30 years ago, we started a radio show. And that grew and it evolved. And it's just a really great way to educate the community on various topics and strategies. So they came asking questions and turned into clients. But then other advisors, started tuning in, and they thought it was great. So it turned into, that's where Real Wealth started. He was selling the show to advisors. They were buying zip codes. There was a lots of money sponsors budget, scooping up the zip codes. And then 2008 happened. Sponsors went dark, everybody pulled out, so Real Wealth reinvented itself into an online podcast. And I don't know if you've been on social media lately, but literally every time I'm on Facebook or something, people are saying, hey, I'm looking for podcast suggestions. More often than I'm saying, hey, I'm looking for a great book suggestion. What are you reading lately? People love podcasts. And I'll dive more into the marketing strategy, but a lot of it has to do with people's low attention spans. So podcasts are passive, and they're really easy to listen to. So with that, I'm going to give you some examples of the podcast, and kind of like I did with the Power Session Live speakers, I picked out samples for a reason. I'm going to list off some episodes that we've featured previously as NAPA ClientCast podcast and explain to you from a consumer standpoint why these are so effective. Because personally, I feel like advisors, their biggest weakness is how smart you are. And if you're a NAPA member, you're very smart. But I really feel that it's you know so much, it's almost hard to understand what consumers don't know, and they don't know a lot, unfortunately. So from a consumer standpoint, my first example is, of course, Tom Hegna's fabulous. So he did a podcast on his retirement challenges for women. And right off the bat, when consumers were tuning into that, Tom Hegna says, "Do you know women?" And I bet you everyone listening knows a woman. So, and then, he went on to explain, they live longer, their Social Security, if they're widowed, their taxes change, all of this stuff. And it got people concerned, and advisors were getting appointments. So it was really, really effective. Another great example is a complete opposite end of the spectrum. Liv Thames is not nearly as famous as Tom Hegna. She's just a nice, polite, quaint, successful online blogger. And she has her blog is literally about living frugally. And this was a great episode because consumers, aren't going to have any money to invest with you or, properly insure and protect themselves with you if they don't have the money to do it. So this episode was about living frugally and budgeting, but also about how it makes you happier when you live well and thoughtfully. Not consumer society, capitalism, I need to have my Starbucks iced coffee every day. No, you're just, filling the void with money and consumerism. Be frugal, live well, and make smart choices with your money. Wink, wink, nudge, nudge, working with qualified financial professionals to have that peace of mind. So that's why that episode really spoke to consumers. Another episode of the marketing strategies we employ for you is this Curtis Cloak episode. Curtis Cloak is a very, very well-renowned advisor, great speaker in the industry, very successful. But again, it's not about what you know, it's how it's being conveyed. So one of the things we do here at NAPA ClientCast is we're the marketing brains behind the scenes for you. So this was a very thoughtful and great episode, but the subject line, the title of the show is the retirement checklist. So I got to tell you, consumers are scared of retirement. They are not great with their money. We've all seen the statistics. People are not saving enough. I think I just heard on NPR the other day that over almost half of consumers surveyed said that they would not be able to handle a sudden emergency $400 expense. Well, if you've ever been to a mechanic, it's almost always more than that. So this is a scary time. So what this does is it took some valuable financial information, but put it in a checklist format. So Curtis is ticking through a list of items. Have you thought about this? Have you thought about this? But the point of the story is they need to accomplish this with you, because when they listen to the episode, they understand that they can't do all that by themselves. Here's yourself a Taylor again. He was on Power Session giving you the prospecting ideas. And, before I explain this episode, the guests overlap on purpose. So while you're on Power Session live webinars learning these behind-the-scenes sales ideas, that same speaker is sharing a podcast. And you can share that with your community for free because you're a NAPA member. So what you do is you share that podcast to get the consumers asking questions. And because you attended Power Session Live, you are armed with the information, the strategies, the language, the sales ideas, the opportunities that the consumers probably didn't know about until they talked to you. But that said, this episode was really popular among consumers in general because it's called the longest vacation of your life. Selfie Taylor just says right out to consumers, question yourself, how much time did you spend planning your last vacation? Weeks, months? Did you plan every stop, every penny, save forever, make sure that you guys had a good time? Well, what about the longest vacation of your life, your retirement? How much time have you spent planning that? And then it really opened consumers' eyes. Advisors were getting appointments because consumers suddenly realized that they were going to be without their regular job's income and their wages for 30, 40, 50 years. So this was a big eye-opener. Here's Here's a really great example of a successful episode. Get the Social Security benefit you deserve. A very common misconception with consumers is that when they file their Social Security claim that it's optimal. And it is absolutely not the Social Security Administration's job to say, oh, you know what, you could have gotten more money if you did this. That's your job. And consumers don't know that. They just file paperwork and get their money, and what if someone dies? And there's just, as you know, there's so many moving pieces of that puzzle. So, but furthermore, the reason that this episode even caught people's attention to begin with was, notice the word deserve. People are very, very emotional about their money. People work their whole lives, they pay into Social Security, they earn and deserve their benefit, and they are shocked to find out that they don't necessarily get every penny that they deserve. So this was a big, very successful episode as well. The last episode I want to share with you, and this is really, really important, is that this episode was about how the new Trump tax cuts affects people. And do you have time to call every single one of your clients and prospects and say, oh my gosh, the laws just changed, this affects this and this and this and this, we need to meet? You probably don't. So you can educate everybody in one fell swoop by sharing an episode like this. And of course, at the same time, there were Power Session Live webinars about the sales opportunities that arose from these changes. And it's not just that. And, you know, a few years ago when Social Security dropped the file and suspend option, that drastically changed the way people could file for Social Security and opened up some doors for sales opportunities, but closed other ones that you might have been using. So that's both halves of the program were together to update you on the newest policy changes, laws. Government and politics are always changing, going back and forth and back and forth. So we try to keep everybody in the loop, and this is a great NAIFA member benefit. So of course the next question is this compliance approved? And the answer is probably. We do work directly with a number of companies. If you see your name in green, that means we pre-approve. It's a completely automatic, completely turnkey experience. If you see it in black, that means there are NAIFA members using at least some of our resources in some way, and we can chat with you on what people are doing successfully to have access to the content. But if you don't see your name on there at all, or if you have questions, definitely reach out. And then the next question we always get is, does it actually work? And again, I love talking, obviously, and I could sit here all day talking about how fun and great this is, but I do have some actual statistics for you. So first of all, the open rates of the emails that we prepare, and they're all pre-written. Every episode comes with an email and social media, so it's not just the show. That's all done for you. And the subject lines and the titles of the show that I was telling you that's what causes the open rates to be much higher than the industry average. And depending on the quality of your list, we've seen the average go up and up. So some people are getting 30, 40, even 50% open rates, and we're able to track that information. Another thing is that as far as your actual production concerned, obviously that's something we can't measure, but luckily one of our broker-dealer partners studied that for us because they wanted to make sure they were getting an ROI. So what they did was they surveyed their members that were using the real wealth content, the NAIFA ClientCast content, and they measured their production level 90 days prior to sharing the content and 90 days after. And they found that 15% of advisors doubled their production. And that's just one end of the spectrum. It goes all the way to 90% of advisors increased at least 15%. So it's effective on so many levels, and I'll give you some pretty specific examples. So one of them is, again, I chose these examples very specifically for you. Adam Solano, fantastic NAIFA member. He is mainly an investments guy. That's what he specializes in. He's very, very good at it. Doesn't sell a whole lot of insurance. He's mainly focused in on the security side of his business. Well, John Wheeler, another really great NAIFA member, did a podcast episode on whole life insurance as an asset class, and that spoke to Adam's high net worth clients. They didn't realize that life insurance was something so valuable, and John Wheeler, we call him John the Wordsmith Wheeler because he really breaks it down in a way consumers can understand. He explains whole life is like owning a house and term life is like renting. And there's value in whole life and there's so much you can do with it. And literally Adam shared this episode and all he did was just pick up the phone and take the orders. And so he sold $60 of whole life premium just by sharing a John Wheeler episode. It was fantastic. On the bottom left, another really great example is the other end of the spectrum because, you know, the big sales obviously make it worth it, right? But on the flip side is the drip marketing is really important no matter what, because, you know, when you're meeting with prospects or, you know, proposing, you know, different products and services to your clients and prospects, it's not always the right time. It's not that they don't need it, it's timing is an issue as well. So it's very easy for even very qualified leads to get cold like that. So if you don't consistently reach out to them and offer them something valuable and remind them that you exist with something as, you know, soft and educational as a podcast instead of, hey, I'm here, do you want to buy something? It's been a year, do you want to buy something? So so Kevin started sharing the podcast and someone reached out to him that forgot to meet with him for 3 years. And a lot can happen in 3 years. So in this client's position, their income changed, their assets changed. So it was a really, really great improvement on that person's situation. And then I know I like talking, so I'm just going to share one more with you. The Chet Kohler testimonial is one of our in-house favorites. He called us just to tell us this story that he was prospecting with this woman. Unfortunately, her husband passed away, so she's a widow, and her husband was a very wealthy and successful stockbroker and handled all the finances. So suddenly she was in the dark. But she was very well connected, so she'd been interviewing many advisors. I think Chet was like the 8th or 9th or 10th advisor she interviewed, and she passed. She said, no thanks, I'm going to keep interviewing people. And Chet said, no worries. What I'm going to do is I'm going to add you to my podcast list because I want to make sure you're getting great information no matter what. This is really valuable, and I want to make sure you're taken care of. Many months go by, and this woman gives Chet a call and hires him out of the blue because she kept interviewing people. And she said Chet was the first person to not only offer something valuable and just try to do something right by her and offer her something nice instead of just asking her how much money she has. And that spoke volumes. And now I think 2 of 4 of her kids are Chet's clients, and some of their in-laws are Chet's clients. And on top of that, the cherry on top of that pie is that this client lives in Hawaii, so now Chet gets to take him and Mrs. Kohler to Hawaii to take care of this woman's affairs. So that's fantastic. Lots of really great results. We love taking those calls. So as a quick review, I just want to make sure that you know that everything I've just talked about so far, that is your free NAFA member benefit. You get all of this for free because it's included in your membership. This is a huge value add, and I'll talk about the value proposition later, but if you're not taking advantage of this, you're just crazy. So make sure to look for the email invitations to join Power Session Live. This is a huge opportunity for you to learn from the best, and you get to join the webinars free. You get to share these podcasts for free because you're a NAFA member. Now I'm going to spend some time talking about some other options that are available to you. We do have lots of really cool extra features, but you know, we don't want to just give everyone the big shiny new toy, maybe you don't use it. We want to give you options. So you get all of that for free, and then there are extra features. We call it our Premier Membership option, and if you want to opt into that, it is significantly discounted because of your NAFA membership. So just as an example, if a random advisor just heard of us, stumbled on our website or something, gave us a call and said, I want to be a member, we would charge them $300 per month. So your discount of $50 per month is because of your NAFA membership. So that's working for you. So one of the biggest features I'm just going to tell you about right off the bat is an automatic distribution option. So all of that really cool NAFA content I was telling you about, the podcast, the email, the social media, it's all provided for you for free as a NAFA member, but if you want it done for you, you can opt into this. It's very much like Constant Contact or MailChimp, if you guys have heard of stuff like that. But the reason we built our own version is for 2 reasons. One, we didn't want you to have to take our content and build it and design the emails and put your branding on and add your distribution list. We want to do all that for you. So we put the real life content in there for you. But the second reason is that this actually is a really robust marketing tool like Constant Contact or MailChimp. So it has all these cool features if you want to use them. You can obviously check your analytics, who's opening, who's clicking, use it as a prospecting tool. You can segment your lists, your contacts into lists like life insurance only or A and B and C rated, and you can grab and go for targeted marketing. You can design your own templates. Maybe you're going to have a seminar in your community and you want to use this tool to blast an email out and track who's interested. So it does all those things. But the point is, you have the choice to be as involved or as uninvolved as you want to be. So that's really, really cool. And of course, we've built in extra automations too, birthday emails, client annual reminders, wedding anniversaries. Of course, the NAVA ClientCast emails and social media posts are included. And I'm just going to pull down my slides here and I'm going to show you some live samples. So first of all, the podcast, we talked about, what it looks like, but this is actually the show itself. And I'm going to refresh my page here because what's neat about it is that it's simply hosted on a website. I'll unmute my computer. So I just muted it again. I wanted you to hear that when people click on the show, you just share it, and when they click, it pops up like a YouTube video. So people don't need to have an iTunes account or an RSS subscription or anything fancy. So people can tune in. It doesn't matter if they're 10 or 110. Everybody can listen. And furthermore, you actually can't get this on iTunes. You need to get it from a qualified NAFA professional. That's the only way to get the NAFA ClientCast podcast. So it makes you even more valuable. So that's what it looks like. It's hosted on a website. And what we do is we actually email you every month on the 1st. There's a brand new episode. So we email you, all NAFA members, and say, hey, we got a great new show for you this month. And on top of just saying there's a new show, there's a link. If you just click on it, it takes you right to our website where you can get all of the material. You can copy and paste the email. It's copy and pasteable, so it's flexible. This is the free version. And then there's Twitter and Facebook, LinkedIn. All that information is ready to grab and go and prepared and produced. You don't have to recreate the wheel. So that's your free NAFA member benefit. And then the Premier version, what we do is we take both halves of the program and we enhance it. So, here's the NAFA ClientCast podcast. For Premier members, you have two options. You can either have a similar landing page with your branding on it, or you can even embed the podcast onto your own website if you want to. And you choose what color you want the buttons to be, if you want the menu to expand or collapse right away. And there's different options, and don't be overwhelmed by all the extra features and options that come with Premier membership. We have a pretty intensive onboarding process. And by intensive, I mean for us, not for you, because we're doing all the work. So that's pretty fun. But what's neat about this Premier version, these buttons you see on the bottom on both versions, these are actually lead gen tools, because since it's a Premier podcast and it's linked to a person, then the leads can be delivered to you specifically. So there's obviously a more info button. You always want to have the ability for people to ask questions online, because people these days, they don't like picking up the phone anymore. It's just the way it is. There's a share episode link. So it's copy and pasteable because people like to overshare. You go on Instagram and people are like, look what I had for lunch, like that. We want people to post on Facebook, check out this podcast I'm listening to, my advisor gave it to me. So it's really easy to grab and go. They can text it to their friends. It makes you very referable. And there's a forward to a friend form too. And if they use this particular feature, obviously the friend gets an email saying, hey, listen to my advisor's show. But there's a lot of valuable information, and you get copied on the message. So you can see that your client Sally forwarded the show to their friend Bob. You have Sally's information, so you can thank them. You have Bob's information, so you can follow up with the new lead, and you know why, because there's a message field. So you'll see something like, hey Bob, it's Sally. We were just talking about taxes last week. You have to tune into this. And then when you get a copy of that message, you know that taxes is something that's important to Bob. So you have a way to start the conversation. It's all invaluable. And of course, you see what episode they were forwarding in the first place. There's even a subscribe button, and this is really important because when clients and prospects, prospects that someone new is subscribing, fills this out, they automatically get added as a contact into the Real Wealth system that I'll show you a sample of momentarily. But you get a notification with this information full of the prospecting nuggets. So you know their name, their email, their phone number, their birthday. That's going to give you insight as to where they might be in their financial life. What if they're 30? They might just be starting a family, buying a home. So many things need to be protected at a very vulnerable time in their lives. Don't worry, I have insurance. And then on the flip side, what if they're 60 and then they're nearing retirement? So you have lots of really good information there. And they can even say what their concern is. Maybe they'll say something like, I'm concerned about running out of money in retirement. Boom. And then of course you find out what they were listening to when they subscribed, so you know what triggered them to want to sign up in the first place. That's really valuable as well. So with the Premier option comes this system. So this is what I was showing you earlier. This is the homegrown Real Wealth content marketing system. Now, truly, I could sit here for 10 hours and tell you how cool it is and all the great features and all the different fun things you can do, but that's more of an onboarding conversation, because part of what you get with the membership is a personalized marketing consultation with myself, because we don't just build it and give it to you and say, great. It's a conversation. We sit down, I share my screen much like I am right now, and I show you your membership, your podcast, and then we talk about, okay, how do you, who's on your team? Do you have an intake process with your new clients? What CRM do you use? How can we make this work for you? And it's this whole process, and I'm here to support you. What I'll do today is I'm going to show you, just the highlights. Of course, it requires contacts. We do integrate with Redtail. We're working on more integrations, and even if, Justin Bieber and David Bowie probably aren't on your distribution list, they're on mine though. We actually do the importing for you. We get you all set up, completely rocking and rolling, so don't ever let technology stop you from doing something. This is built for people that like to market. Like I said, you can choose to do cool stuff, but even if you don't know how to turn your computer on, we can help you use this. And we do have fantastic, very smart advisors using this who don't know how to turn their computer on, because we help them use it. So this is valuable for everybody. I'm going to hover over post here, because just to give you a glance at all the cool features, this is what I was mentioning earlier, where you can design and send your own email blasts or schedule social media posts in one sitting, create groups and lists of people. That can all be done. I'm going to show you the campaigns area, because that's what we've built in to completely fill it out and automate it for you. So for example, we can do holiday emails, we can do client annual review emails, and this one's really cool. I'm actually going to show it to you. This one is dressed up like a thank you note. It's so if you have like policy start dates or client renewal dates, this will go out to them on an annual basis, and if you want, we can set it up more. Maybe you want to send your high net worth clients quarterly reminders, whatever you want. But this is a great note saying, thanks for another great year. I appreciate you. Just want to point out a couple of things. If any of these things changed, we got to talk. And it's a very comprehensive list of things that might affect people's financial plan. So this is all thought through for you. And of course, photo, signature, unsubscribe disclosure, whole shebang that's included. But more in the campaigns area, there's birthdays, wedding anniversaries, holidays, and of course the Real Wealth makes the ClientCast content. So I'm going to show you some samples of that, because that's pretty cool. So here's what's interesting about the whole strategy. I was saying earlier, we focus in on podcasts because they're really passive. People have very short attention spans, and that's even acknowledged in the whole marketing and email format as well. So for example, the email itself that is generated automatically and scheduled and sent out automatically, this is actually literally never longer than 2 or 3 sentences, because statistically speaking, people are going to read more than that. So this is very much designed to just, hey, does this topic interest you? Does this topic interest you? Maybe forward it to someone else too. And it's all very clickable, and everything is pre-linked and ready to go to, either your podcast or your website. This is all stuff we set up for you. It depends what your online strategy is. But back to the email. So it's just a couple of sentences, and then there's like a quote of the week or quote of the month or a cute image. If you've ever been on social media, people love to share their inspirational quotes. All this stuff is working for you. So the email has it. This is also going to be like your hashtag Monday motivation post, and it's all a big mixture. So it's not just like people getting the same stuff over and over again. This is not the same old stuffy newsletters. This is not a market report that people aren't going to understand. This is designed to cast a net of valuable information, and you never know which episode is gonna reel them in. And then, of course, there's a quick recap of the previous episode, and included in your templates that we designed for you are, your signature, unsubscribe disclosure, stuff like that. That's all included. And everything I'm showing you can be generated completely automatically. And all we're looking at right now is the email view. There's also social media, so we can post automatically on your Facebook business page, any Twitter accounts, LinkedIn, both personal and company pages, that can all be accommodated, even for more than one person. All right, so that is the quick overview of the Real Content Marketing System. I'm going to pull up my slides because I have some more really cool information to share with you from a NAPA member. So Jim Van Han is a NAPA member, and I added this because at the P+P in San Antonio a few months ago, Jim literally chased us down, was like shouting across the lobby of the San Antonio Convention Center. He was like, guys, wait, I got to tell you something. He had been trying to find a marketing consulting agency in the Chicago area to create social media, post it for him, design email, write content, get it approved, send it out, monitor it, track the analytics. He couldn't find anybody to do that for less than $2,000 per month. And he'd been using the free NAPA version for a while, and then he recently enrolled in the premier version, and his socks were completely blown off, so much so that he was screaming at us in San Antonio. So that was a really fun testimonial. I really love sharing that. A little bit more information about that onboarding process I was telling you about. Again, I don't want that to intimidate you. In fact, I want it to attract you, because what we do is there's a lot of value in just the setup alone, because to become a premier member, there's that monthly fee, but you also saw that there's a $99 setup fee. So here's what you get for that $99. You get the one-on-one marketing consultation with moi, who doesn't want to spend time with me. There's personalized recommendations. I'm constantly studying and familiarizing myself with other tools and resources, because I'm not that person that's just going to pretend that we're the only cool person in school. We want to make sure that this is working for you, and you can use everything at your disposal and also be cost effective and use the least amount of effort as possible. That's what I specialize in. We also implement it all for you, so we help you connect your social media platforms, give you all the information for your web designer. If maybe you want to put it in your own site, I double check it, I test it, change all your links so that every single, any interested person, they click on anything, it actually goes to your website, and that's really good for your SEO, your Google results. That's fantastic. It's posting on your social media, even if you hate social media, because it's really important to have contacts, because I bet you $1 million someone has Googled you, any referral, they're going to Google you. And because Facebook, Twitter, and LinkedIn are so widely used across the world, they show up on page one no matter what. So you need to have an account. But then you also need to have content on the account, because the second worst thing that could happen is that if someone Googles you and then they click on, oh, Twitter/Jade Paczelt Financial, I want to check her out. If they click and it says, Jade joined Twitter in 2003, and then there's nothing on there, that looks really bad as well. So then we can be posting on there for you. We help you set up your template, make sure you like your logo and the signature, make sure your disclosure is correct if you have that. We launch it. We even send an announcement email because being marketers, we know that people don't like marketers. So we have an announcement letter prepared, and we do some training on scripts you can do when you're talking with new clients, meeting at the door, reminding them to tune in and forward it to their friends, which is a really polite way of asking for referrals without asking for referrals. The announcement letter tells your whole email list what they're going to be getting before they get it, so they don't just think you're spamming them all of a sudden. There's lots of different things that we've thought of for you and help you implement with that onboarding process. And then the last section is the training for you and your team. So maybe you have an assistant or a consultant. It's not just you. I'll work with your whole team. I'll make sure they know what's going on because, the more hands, the better. And I can kind of help, guide that and facilitate that conversation to make sure that everything is working for you, not just a bunch of stuff that you have and it's not working. With that, I'm going to kind of wrap up. I have a couple announcements at the end here. I want to point out that we are coming out with a bunch of new features, some of them like next week, some of them over the next quarter, some of them this year. And these are all things that people are asking for. And that's really important that you know that, because even the whole distribution feature, the automatic posting and the automatic emailing, we developed that because people asked for it. We used to be content only, and we've been doing the podcast and the content and the educational information for decades. But there was a point where advisors were saying, this is really great, but I don't have time, or I don't know how to mass email. So people were asking us, and we built it. So it's important. We are, this is founded by an advisor, knowing what advisors need, knowing what consumers don't know, and all geared towards that. So the first announcement is we're coming out with the notification system. Like I said, we built the distribution tool for email and social media because people didn't know how or didn't have time to do it themselves. And we wanted to take it a step further. Maybe you don't even have time to log in and check your results to see who your hottest leads are. So we designed a notification system. Maybe you want to know who your hottest leads are. That can just be emailed to you. Or whose birthday is coming up this month. That can be emailed to you automatically. You don't need to check it. The Redtail integration, we just finished testing that. It works. We're launching that. We're going to announce that pretty soon. You're the first to know. New campaign options. This is pretty cool. So, when we built the distribution tool, obviously the real off was included. Then people asked for the birthdays, the anniversaries, the renewals, the holidays. That's actually why we added them, because people wanted more. And then so now we're designing some milestone and product-specific campaigns because, our goal is to educate everybody on everything. You never know what's important to people, and we're just helping you cast that net. But, you can be specific too. We're designing that right now. That's going to be fun. The podcast embeddable player, you already saw that. And we're building out an app too. So everything's an app now, so it's going to be great. A custom subscribe. This is important because the more types of emails we can automate and put into this tool, we don't want people to unsubscribe from everything. So now that there's more, they're going to be able to click unsubscribe and maybe just say, okay, I don't want the podcast, but I want holiday reminders. That way you don't lose those leads. They don't just turn cold all of a sudden. But more importantly, now that I'm kind of explaining all this, is there something that you want to see that I haven't shown you yet? Let me know, because that makes us better. That helps us grow. We fully support you. We fully support NAIFA, so the more we know, the better. And the last thing I want to impart on you is how valuable this NAIFA member benefit is, and you're super smart for being a NAIFA member. So first of all, when you're a NAIFA member, you get everything that comes with NAIFA. So not just us, you get all the benefits, the camaraderie, the networking, the government advocacy, everything. Non-NAIFA members don't get any of that. NAIFA members get NAIFA ClientCast, so they get the free marketing content. They get that podcast and email and social media, all produced and done and literally hand delivered to you. Non-NAIFA members don't. And then thirdly, NAIFA members get invited to Power Session Live, the #1 favorite NAIFA member benefit. Get to attend these for free with your NAIFA membership. Non-NAIFA members, we charge $100 to attend, They're not affiliated with any of our official Real Wealth partners. Too good to be true, right? But so here's the math. If you were not a NAPA member, we would charge $250 to $300, depending on the options that you chose to enroll in our membership. So let's say your NAPA dues cost you about $500. I don't know, they might be $4, might be $7, who knows? So we just kind of averaged it at $500. And then we charge that $99 setup fee. And then you pay $50 per month for Premier membership. So this is the most you would pay for, your NAPA and all of our coolest features. Your total cost is less than $1,200 per year. It's a really good investment in your business. On the flip side, if an advisor that was not a NAPA member wanted, they're not going to pay NAPA dues, so there's that $500 savings that they're going to get, but we charge a $250 setup fee and a $300 per month fee just for our membership. So they're going to pay almost $4,000 just for our stuff, and they get no other NAPA member benefits. So the math here just speaks volumes. As a quick recap, you as a NAPA member have 2 service options, one of which costs absolutely nothing because it's included in your NAPA dues. You don't have to pay anything extra, you just get it. You get the NAPA ClientCast podcast. Every month there's a brand new episode, and you get invited to attend power session. That's at no cost to you. And then on the flip side, the Premier option, you get both of those halves, and they're enhanced. So you get the branded podcast or the embeddable player, whatever version you want, and you get unlimited access to the Power Session Live library of recordings. And that's huge. It's like a Netflix account. We give you a username and password, and it unlocks the whole library of videos. So you can watch Ben Miller whenever you want, Tom Hegna whenever you want. It goes on and on and on. We have like 80-something videos in there of the best speakers in the industry giving you their best ideas. It's extremely valuable. One more quick plug for the symposium. We're so excited about this. Come and hang out with us. Come and hang out with NAPA. You are going to be mind blown about how much information you're going to get from 10 of the country's top speakers in 2 days. It's going to be awesome. If you register today, we'll knock $400 off that registration, so don't miss that opportunity. And then I don't think I see any questions coming in, so I think I nailed it. Suzanne, do you see any questions, or is there anything else I can help you guys with?
I think we're good. Yeah, if anybody has any questions, we'll give you a minute or two to ask. But yes, of course, Jade, you're always very comprehensive. And I'm really looking forward to the symposium too. It's going to be great. We're really looking forward to that. Yeah,
can't wait for it too. Cool. Well, I super appreciate NAPA, and really glad you guys all came on this. And please feel free to give me a call personally. I'm happy to show you some, I give you a personal demo or answer your personal questions. Suzanne will send some notes out to you, and I'm here to help if you need it.
Awesome. Thank you, Jade, for your time today.
Yeah, you're welcome. Bye, guys.
Bye. Thanks.